Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Ben 10 Retrospectives, and today we're going to be talking about the 13th episode of the original series and the final episode of Season 1, Secrets. And in this episode we finally get the confrontation between Ben and Vilgax. The confrontation a fight that's been built up for the throughout Season 1. And in this case, Vilgax is tired of just continually losing. He's tired of just sitting by and watching, and so we finally see that he's healed from the damage he was from how hurt he was in the first episode of Ben 10, and so he finally steps out of the pod. It's big, it's ominous. You only see a shadow, but he looks buffer. All you see are his eyes. It's definitely something creepy, and at the same time this happens, Ben gets a nightmare of seeing Vilgax in his current state, and he winds up he says that now Vilgax, that he's awake, he's coming for him, and this causes Max to freak out and tell them we need to and tell his grandchildren they're going to Mount Rushmore, and all the way there he seems more apprehensive. He's driving faster. He's not really giving any straight answers for why they're doing this fast, and he's getting out, and he's even apprehensive of Ben going hero just for shits and giggles, which really I think he would be apprehensive about anyway, but he's more apprehensive now. But meanwhile, as they're going, Vilgax, having tracked Ben from when he did use the Omnitrix in the RV, he attacks a nearby city because he's been keeping track of Ben. He knows that he needs to draw him out, because he knows that Ben wants to fight, wants to help people, save lives, so he decides to cause some random destruction. Ben, against his grandfather's wishes, goes to it, and he takes care of most of Vilgax's robots, but then Vilgax finally reveals himself. We finally see him in his entirety. No more shadows. We have the breathing out. He's bigger. He's just got more muscles. There are spikes coming out of his arms. He's got more armor. He has a breathing apparatus, and his voice is it's just so dark and gravelly, and Ben was just willing to fight Vilgax head on, but when he goes to fight him, Vilgax doesn't even flinch. He just tosses him through buildings. Ben only manages to slow him down by using heat blast powers because Ben was heat blast at the time, to melt a road. But Max comes in because he followed Ben. He sees Vilgax. He looks more afraid. He gets Ben back into the RV. This is the Omnitrix times out, and Ben tells them, and Ben says that he doesn't want Ben. Max says he doesn't want Ben fighting Vilgax, and Ben asks him, "Wait, how do you know his name?" But however, Max has an answer, and then suddenly they're attacked by drones. Somehow the Omnitrix recharges quickly. I really don't know how, but Ben goes out and fights him as Stinkfly, but then Vilgax goes after him again, and Vilgax just finally says, "I'm tired of this," and he now apparently he has this ability to actually transform Ben back, which we actually learn in the later on in the series and in other series, that Ben can switch between forms by just slapping the Omnitrix symbol. But Vilgax uses that to transform Ben back, except he can apparently turn his finger red, which somehow results in it just turning Ben back, and Vilgax is just shocked to figure, and this is where Vilgax learns that the person he's been looking for and going after this whole time was just a 10-year-old kid, which even Vilgax is like, I can't believe this, I just wasted my time. It's like he's wasting his time, and Max and Gwen are aware of the situation, but Max still wants to hit Mount Rushmore, now even more than ever. Gwen is we don't know why, so we don't know what's going on there. Sorry. But anyway. After that, so they wind up going, Vilgax takes Ben, brings him onto his ship, and Vilgax at this point is now ready to just take the Omnitrix by any means necessary, because it turns out his plan was to create an army of Omnitrix wielders. He wants the Omnitrix to mass produce it, and then give all these other Omnitrixes to an army under his control, and pretty much to just control. Imagine having an army of all of Ben's aliens being able to switch between them at will, it would be pretty powerful. And what's how he even wants to get the Omnitrix off isn't like through some kind of code or anything. He's actually wanting to chop Ben's arm off to get the Omnitrix. But meanwhile, while this is happening, Max and Gwen finally reach Mount Rushmore, and when they get there, it turns out there's this hidden basin there with all these machines and so forth. Gwen is just shocked. She wants to know what's going on, and Max just pulls out a laser and says, well, let's just say that I wasn't exactly your normal plumber. He's got this laser, and you just know that, and it's a very nice payoff in this. I know I'm just going over it, but you kind of need to go over I think you just need to watch the episode in order to get. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of going nuts over this because this whole episode is essentially just reveal after reveal, twist after twist, action scene upon action scene, and honestly, it's just so nice because it builds on each other. Like, again, the reveal of Vilgax, it was a great reveal. We haven't seen him very often in this series, but when he has appeared, he has had this gravelly voice. He's one of the Omnitrix, and progressively we've seen him changing. Well, like the first 2 times we saw him, he was in his tube. Then the tube was covered up. Now we see why he was covered up. He had gone through a radical change. It looks awesome, and then we get some closure for Max, which has been hinted at more than we see Vilgax. But we see now that apparently we don't know exactly what he did still. But we do know that apparently he has dealt with aliens before, as there's this secret, because he knows where the secret base is, and we apparently see that the RV has more high-tech features in it when he asks Gwen to activate a map sequence so they can find the Omnitrix, and what's even better is just the climax of this, because at some point, because Max gets the RV onto the ship at that point, he blasts Vilgax after Vilgax actually calls him out by his last name. So it's obvious that they do know each other somehow, that they have tangled before, but during this, suddenly there's an electrical surge, calls for Max crashing, and it somehow messes with the Omnitrix because it's inside this weird metal thing, and it causes Ben to just transform to all of his aliens. It's causing Ben to just cycle through all of his aliens without any control, without any way of stopping it. And what I love about this is that it takes advantage of all. This is the first time we ever see Ben just transforming, going from one alien to the next without any breaks. And as such, it's fun how we see the fights continue in that. Like we see Ben using his aliens in combination, or just having to. And sometimes sometimes the transformations are a hindrance, sometimes they're a strength. Like at one point he's fighting. When Ben breaks free of his restraints, when he becomes forms, he's about to attack several drones, but then he turns into Ghost Freak, phasing through them. But then at that same time, a second later, he turns into Gray Matter. He takes that, and at that point, he disables a drone, and then he jumps to another, and suddenly he becomes Upgrade. It's really nice because this is the first time we've seen it happen, and the climax of the episode takes full advantage of it. And finally, Max, when it turns out Vilgax is fine, he's about to kill Matt, but he's about to kill Max by stomping him under his giant foot, whatever. And Ben goes out and fights him, and we get a nice battle sequence of Ben using using whatever aliens he can become to fight off Vilgax. But no matter what he throws at him, Vilgax is just impervious. He rams into him with Accelerate, he doesn't move an inch. He tries slamming him with Diamond Head Fist, he breaks his hands. Ben only manages to get away because the Omnitrix lets him turn to Ghost Freak, so he phases through Mount Rushmore, which is where they are, and Vilgax actually destroys one of the president's heads while fighting Ben. It's actually it's very big, and it's actually shown in later episodes. But meanwhile, while this is happening, Max crashes Vilgax's ship, and he and Gwen get out on the RV. But as they get out there, Vilgax finds them first and takes them. Ben finds them all. Then Vilgax gives him the ultimatum of, I either take you or I take your loved ones. So Ben concedes. Vilgax transforms him back. But he goes back onto his ship. Max tells him, don't do it. But Vilgax doesn't listen. It turns out that Max had set a self-destruct on the ship. So when it gets far enough away, it's going to explode. Before Vilgax can't do anything about it because apparently the ship's too... Because the room that they're in has been too messed up. But Ben then blasts him with a leftover laser at that point, and he flies off his heat blast, and the ship explodes. I really don't know how else to say it. I know I'm spoiling the episode rotten here, but honestly, you do need to see it for yourself. If you actually watch the whole series from all the way through, it's a nice build-up, and this is a very nice payoff. Though, if I actually had to, and I don't really know, I can't really see many flaws in it. Well, actually, scratch that. There is one flaw in it, but it's not one you really notice that much unless you actually think about it. In this case, there's not a lot of story. If you actually think about it, the episode doesn't really have a lot of story. I mean, we do get answers. We do get some kind of answers as to things we've seen throughout the series, like... Sorry, my dog. But we do get some answers about what's been going on throughout the series, but why Vilgax wants the Omnitrix so much. Because with its power, he could mass produce it, create an army, and any army with all this power would be able to pretty much would almost be unstoppable. And so, as such, but we don't really get much. And while we do see kind of a bit of a payoff for Max's backstory about all these hints he's dropped about, like in Side Effects, he says he created this herbal remedy for Ben that he learned from a monk in China, and you don't really, and of course you wonder why would a plumber be in China, especially if someone like that. But it is nice because we do get some closure, but we don't really get the full story. We don't really know what Max did. Except that it involved fighting aliens, and we don't really know how he and Vilgax know each other, though it's obvious that they have had history. Those answers are still left in the dark, and really there's not really any kind of build up or tension. Actually, scratch that. There is tension. There's no kind of story that it weaves into. It's just action upon action with twists and turns, but to be fair, I think that's all you really need for this episode. It's the season finale, and it's obvious that the creators are just having fun with this. Like, again, there's the climax where the Omnitrix malfunctions, and as such, Ben, you have Ben able to just jump between all of his aliens and have fun with and you can just take advantage of these transformations by having him use one alien this way, one alien another, or suffer the weakness of this alien 1 minute and then suddenly benefit from the strength of another. It's very nice, and it keeps things rolling and fresh. I love the confrontation between Ben and Vilgax. I do like the twists that we see. And while there isn't really much time to see Ben and Vilgax interact beyond their fighting, we do see how much serious business this is for the Tennysons, for Vilgax, and so forth, and everyone involved. And it's just really, I'm sorry, I can't really stress how much I recommend watching this episode. I mean, I don't think it's the greatest episode out there. I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world by any means. I have seen better shows, but for Ben 10, I think this is a very well done episode. It doesn't reveal every single thing that doesn't reveal every little detail that we've learned about through the whole series, but I think it reveals enough so that you are satisfied, but still asking questions, which they answer later. It has lots of action that builds on top of each other with every battle. I still love just seeing Ben swapping between these aliens and just finally confronting a villain that is just too powerful for even him to deal with, and he takes down and he has to take down through help of his grandfather and cousin and so forth. Though at this point, that's another thing. Gwen is kind of just a bystander in this episode. She's just asking questions more and more while Ben and Max are doing most of the action. But again, I think I'm done geeking out at this point. I can't stress how much I think this episode was, how awesome I think this episode was. I don't think it was like a grand send off or something. I don't think it was like a grand send off. But I think it was a nice payoff just to see Ben finally confront Vilgax, get some answers to what's happening with Max and so forth, even though we still don't know everything. So, yeah, on the whole, it was an awesome season finale. It was nice to watch it again. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, thank you for watching. This is Samuel Johnson, and I will see you next week when we talk about when we start looking at the first episode of season 2. And also tune in tomorrow as I'm gonna make another video for something else, though I'm guessing a few of you already know what it is. So, sorry, my dog. So, yeah, thank you for watching. This is Samuel Johnson, and I will see you both tomorrow and next week. Take care.